Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Fierce Feedback, the
Thanks.
podcast where we bring a game each, talk about it, you vote which one's the best.
That's true enough. It's episode 10, the finale of season number 1.
Oh my goodness.
We made it, Liz. Made it 10 episodes.
I know, it's been dead good.
10 episodes, 20 games.
What?
I've just run the numbers based on there being 2 of us.
I forgot that there was 2 of us then. I was like, 20 games?
Yeah. Where do they come from?
I'm sure I played 20 games in my lifetime.
Yeah. Enough to fill a whole season. So it's episode 10, and so I've brought one of my all-time favourites, and Liz...
I brought my favourite.
You've brought your actual favourite.
My actual favourite game.
Spunking it on season 1.
I know.
Like you don't give a shit. Amazing.
I was going to bring all my memorabilia as well, but it'd just be too much.
But you can't fit
it here.
Warthog in...
A Warthog? No. I'm definitely not a Halo.
So,
we've already done Halo.
And... those of you who haven't listened before, it's always a mystery as to what game we're bringing. It's a secret. We both have a bag to reveal the game to each other. I'm going to go first in this episode because Liz has already hyped her game to me via text. She says she knows everything about this game.
I do. Literally everything. So I know everything.
You say that now.
No, I do.
Well, wait. We have gotten lovely Joe, friend of the show,
Joe,
to create a little quiz for Liz. Liz has told him what game she's got, and Joe has emailed me a set of questions, which I'm going to quiz Mercury with.
Quiz Mercury. Quiz Liz.
But first, it's my turn.
It is.
So I'm going to unveil my game.
Oh my god.
Actually, no, I've got a little preamble for you, Liz.
Oh, I like a preamble.
In minutes.
Look at your lovely nuts.
So... you've been hyping this game that you've brought.
Yeah.
You've said it's your favourite game.
It is my favourite game.
And I might know what it is, but I'm not sure. We'll see. So I just tried to think of like what's a heavy hitter from my back catalogue.
Okay.
And so I've picked a game which it's 90% on Metacritic. It's 9 out of 10 on Eurogamer. 9.5 out of 10 on IGN.
I'll check them on the fly.
Okay.
This is like, can I ask what it is with stuff like that?
Yeah, you can press and guess, absolutely.
Beep.
Go.
BioShock.
Incorrect.
Beep. Call of Duty.
Incorrect. Anyway, Liz, it was 2003. The GameCube was seeking quality content as it was up against the PS2. Of course, the PS2, for those of you who don't know, the most bestest top-selling console of all time.
PS2. Yeah. It's a gem.
159 million sold. So Nintendo were looking for some big hitters to go up against that, and also the Xbox was launching around that time.
Beep.
Go on.
Resident Evil 4.
Incorrect. But you're right, I'm about to go on to talk about the Capcom 5. So the Capcom 5 was a promotional deal that Nintendo did with Capcom where they were like, there's going to be 5 exclusives. These are the Capcom 5. Capcom are amazing. They've done things in the past with Nintendo like Mega Man and all this kind of stuff.
I've not heard about this. I'm learning education all day.
So the Capcom 5, which was supposed to be exclusives, and only one turned out to be, which is the first one on the list. So the first of the 5 was PN03, which
sounds like it's from a periodic table.
It was from the director of Resident Evil.
Really?
But it was a little bit rubbish and didn't review very well.
N03.
And that's the only one that ended up being... It's probably one of your favourite games. You just haven't played it yet.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like you'd frigging that for season 2. It's Galarians. No, the next one was Killer 7.
Oh, yeah.
So Killer 7 we know.
Great game.
If you don't know, Suda, is it Suda51?
Yeah.
Himself now? Goichi Suda and Shinji Mikami.
Of Resident Evil fame.
Exact. And then, of course, you've mentioned Resident Evil 4.
Yep.
Was another one. Initially came out on the GameCube. Eventually, they just were like, screw it.
Put it on everything.
It's going everywhere, this game. People love it. Arguably the best one ever.
It's great. I love Resident Evil 4.
Then there was a game called Dead Phoenix.
Not heard of that one.
Which got cancelled, which is probably why you didn't hear of it. It's kind of like a weird Panzer Dragoon-y kind of flying thing, which looked pretty cool. And then, Liz...
Your game.
My game.
Beep.
Go on.
Viewtiful Joe.
Correct.
Yes!
Smashed it.
Yeah, it's a great game.
There it is. So I'm now presenting Liz with my GameCube
Look, it's
copy
beautiful colour.
of Viewtiful Joe.
I love the cerise pink of the cover. So, funnily enough,
Tell me your Viewtiful Joe story.
I never played this on GameCube. I played it on PS2, where Dante from Devil May Cry was one of the playable characters. I'm sure he was. Or was Viewtiful Joe a playable character?
Viewtiful Joe was in Marvel vs. Capcom, where you would have seen them together.
There we go. There's no manual.
There's no manual.
Where's the manual?
I have brought my iPad on which you can have a look at the manual because it is quite fun.
Thank you.
So I thought of everything.
Yeah, this is a great game.
It is absolutely a great game.
Lights, camera, action, action, action.
I didn't really know where to start with this. Here you go. Here's the manual for your enjoyment.
Oh, thank you very much. So this was one of the
Capcom
5.
Yeah. And as Liz points out, it ended up on PlayStation 2.
I'm going to have a little look at this manual.
So let's talk about Viewtiful Joe. It is kind of a platformer, beat 'em up, stylized. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So it's basically a side-scrolling beat 'em up, like I said. And the game starts off with you as Joe, the average Joe, going to the cinema with your girlfriend Sylvia.
Is that why he's called Joe? Because he's like the average Joe?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway. You go to the cinema and you're watching your favourite film franchise, Captain Blue, and then all of a sudden the bad guy in the film reaches out of the screen and grabs your girlfriend and takes her away.
Why do they always do that?
They always do that, don't they? But then you jump into the screen and go after her. So, the weird thing that kicks off at the start in the story is that Captain Blue's there and he's like, you've got to fight me straight away. And you're like, wait a minute, Captain Blue's the good guy. What's going on? So you fight Captain Blue and he gives you, and you beat him quite easily, but then he gives you this magical watch that allows you to henshin, which means transform, into Viewtiful Joe, which is your kind of superhero form. So he has like this cool helmet and costume and gloves and boots and things. And I have a cosplay of this, which I will put on the blog.
Really?
Yeah. I wore it to a wedding once.
Was it your wedding?
No. That would not have been popular.
Is this guy Captain Blue here, who looks like Viewtiful Joe, but he's wearing blue and he's got his belly sticking out?
Yes, so that's Captain Blue. He's an old-looking guy with a tash, looks like Viewtiful Joe, blue costume, and has this really creepy outy belly button.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
But he's quite proud of it, though, isn't he?
Yeah, it's just popping out. So he grabs, so your girlfriend's been grabbed by these bad guys, and then you are transformed and you can suddenly just start scrolling through this mad world. And basically the first thing that kind of smacks you in the face is like everything is sort of stylized around films and filmmaking and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, these little like sort of streams of enemies start popping up. There's little like mummy looking dudes, and there's weird mummies that are also dressed as ballerinas. Also, Liz, just to remind you and to the listener as well, in every episode we have what we call false feedback.
I remember mine this week.
There will be one lie in the telling of this. It may have already happened. It may be coming in the future. So I'm going to continue. So you transform into this character, and that gives you, again, true to movie making, gives you VFX powers. Now they call it Viewtiful effects, but you know, VFX typically means visual effects in filmmaking. And this means you can slow down time and you can kind of slow-mo make a chain of hits, or you can speed up time into what you call max speed and just go crazy and chain up a load of, like just bash through a ton of enemies at once. And there's also really great mechanics around this. It's not just like your max pain bullet time.
Yeah. There's
also like, you know, there's only like certain things you can do in slow-mo and certain things you can do in max speed.
That's cool.
Like, for example, right at the start, there's a suit of armor that's just slamming an axe down, and you can sort of run past it, but if you want to beat it up, you can go into slow-mo, smash the whole thing into pieces, which you can't do at all without slow-mo, and then it gives you a little burger, which is a little health boost.
Yeah, it says in the manual, the cheeseburger.
Cheeseburgers, exactly. And the great thing about it is if you get hit by the enemies telegraph their attacks. There's a little like skull appears at different heights, and you can duck or jump up.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a weird thing. There's a button to jump, but then there's also, if you press up on the pad, he just sort of hops into the air like for a second. So you can kind of like block by jumping out the way for them sweeping, or you can duck.
And he dashes as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I remember the dash.
Oh yeah, and there's a double jump as well if you're Viewtiful Joe. But if you get hit and you get knocked back to average Joe, normal Joe,
Aww.
then there's this kind of like film grain effect over the thing, and you lose your costume. You're back to looking like yourself, and it's kind of like it reminded me of. Do you ever play Ghouls and Ghosts?
Oh gosh, not for years.
But you know when like you lost your armor and that you're down to your underpants,
yeah,
just
you
running
get to
around,
start again in your underpants.
little naked King Arthur. It's great. So yeah, when he transforms, he has this little catchphrase where he's like "Henshin a go go baby," and he transforms.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's all very kind of like.
Hollywood
I think,
blockbuster.
Yeah, it's kind of like douchey teen in action movie kind of thing. And I loved the fact that it was kind of like, it kind of reminded me of Last Action Hero.
Oh, I love that with Arnie.
With Arnie,
yeah,
course.
That's a great film.
Which is a terrible but also great film.
It's a great
all at
film.
Once. Yeah.
How do you get your Viewtiful Joe-ness back?
So you charge up the Viewtiful Joe-ness by basically chaining up hits, and you get V tokens, which you charge up your bar, and then over time you get more amount of bar, so you have more to use up. So if you want to do like a chain of a lot of slow-mo, then that bar is kind of reducing as you use it. Yeah. And then when you run out, you're just back to full speed or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, it was just super mechanically flexible. And then the art direction was just really, really unique.
Yeah, it's very well known for its art direction.
Exactly, yeah. So it's probably what most people would call cell shading, but then a lot of the models are all sort of 3D, but then the backgrounds are a lot of 2D planes. Mm-hmm. And it would do this really interesting thing with the camera where if you can imagine a character running from left to right, the camera's kind of on an orbit around the character. Yeah. So when you press right, it kind of pivots around. Yeah. I'm kind of moving my hands. This is great for radio. Podcast. I'm a very modern lad.
It looks like we're stirring 2 pots of soup at the same time.
Yeah, with 1 pot with 2 spoons. But basically, it orbited around. So whenever you ran along in a certain direction, it would look like you were running around a big spherical world in this weird way.
I can vaguely remember that.
Yeah, so you're kind of twisting around, and then it would seem like like the environment and stuff was kind of coming from the horizon on each side. So if you imagine it looking a bit fisheye. Yeah. And then kind of pivoting around that way. And then when you went into slow-mo, like it basically everything except for the characters had this kind of like blurring paint kind of look to it.
That's cool.
It was like really, really advanced for its time, I would say. And even now, like to get those effects, you'd have to,
have a very talented shader programmer.
Exactly. It's just like a very strong vision of how you wanted it to all tie together. Another cool thing, when you die, it's basically like you're being directed. So there's like a cut. This is no good kind of thing.
I think I remember that as well.
Which I really loved. Yeah, it's just like really a consistent vision. And so basically the gameplay is that you're scrolling left to right, beating things up, getting these tokens, chaining together attacks, platforming. There's a few puzzles, like you've got to get a key and you've got to, knock something down to get a key. And
I was going to ask about the puzzles because they're on the back of the box.
Yeah, there's nothing like crazily. Bending. Yeah, I would say that's a little bit over egging it. I would say that they're reasonably straightforward once you figure out what you've got to do. Yeah. But it's just because of the satisfaction of the mechanics, you really just have that replay value. Yeah. So I replayed it a bunch last night to kind of get back into it. And yeah, it's just really satisfying. And like I played, there's like kids mode and adult mode. That's the difficulty settings.
Really?
And I foolishly played it on adult thinking, these reflexes will come straight back. They did not. I got to the first main boss, which is this huge helicopter thing that's firing like rockets. And you can basically go in slow-mo and kind of punch them back in the other direction, cool. Which is awesome.
Very Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, exactly. It's very True Lies. But yeah, it didn't pan out well for me. But the fact that I got to that and then I was like, screw it, I'm just going to play through all that again because it's so enjoyable. It didn't feel punitive in like its save points, if that makes sense.
Did it play? Did it play as well as you remember in 2003?
Yeah, like it holds up. Absolutely holds up. Yeah, I loved it. So you're going through these stages and you get to the end and there's all these kind of like weird bosses. So I mean, where's my notes?
Like Mega Man weird.
Well, I would say weirder. I don't know. So there's like, what have I got down here?
Weirder than the alien head in Streets of Rage 2.
That's a little bit more just completely out of place. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I mentioned the helicopter. There's like a weird like marionette. Like a lot of the mini enemies are these marionette like mummy looking things. And then some of them are ballerinas for some reason. And then there's like a big gunslinger version of it.
Yeah.
And then there's a giant shark dude called Bruce.
Bruce is a great name for a giant shark.
I mean, you gotta love a giant shark, right? And then there's just weird hulking beasts throughout the whole thing.
Bruce false feedback?
No, but it's a good try. It's not that.
Is the ballerinas your false feedback?
No, it's a good try though.
So, just gonna interrupt you because it's what I do.
Please.
So on the back of your box, it says, "Note: yellow and pink Viewtiful Joe packaging contains the same game." What was the difference? Was it that GameCube was yellow and pink, and the PlayStation one?
No, the PlayStation
red?
One was like a blue sky background over the city. So you can see on the city there's a silhouette at the back of him.
Yeah,
it was that, but with blue sky and in full color.
Oh.
But I think the two different brandings. So basically, some of the ideas that didn't make it into this one, made it into two. And I'll tell you the end of the story in a second, which will illuminate as to why. But I think that there was basically meant to be a male and a female version of the game.
Oh, cool. Okay.
To excite people. Now, the reason for that is they wanted to, and I'll talk about who they are, who made it in a minute.
I like the pink Capcom logo as well.
Yeah, it's just nice. Like, it's all consistent. It's consistent
really
art direction throughout. But they wanted to have you play as your girlfriend as well, as Sylvia. It was to be a playable character with slightly different abilities.
Yep.
And that's something that you can do in 2. So I'm going to talk about who made it real quick, and then I'll come back and tell you about the rest of the story.
They're good.
So Team Viewtiful, as is the way with a lot of Japanese game teams, then the word team followed by part of the title of the game.
Yeah, like Team Silent.
Exactly. So Team Viewtiful was a team of 6 people who were given just 12 months to complete the game.
Seriously?
Exactly. But once it showed a lot of promise, they eventually expanded the team, and eventually the game took 21 months to complete. So there's kind of 2 main people I would kind of call out. So Hideki Kamiya, I should say, was the designer. He'd previously worked on a Resident Evil series.
I thought his name was familiar.
I think you'll know him. Later went on to work on Akami and Devil May Cry before leaving for Platinum Games.
Oh, Bayonetta
to
fame.
make Bayonetta, exactly. And then the main producer of the game was Atsushi Inaba, who had previously worked on Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney.
Great games.
Objection. And Steel Battalion. Did you ever play Steel Battalion?
No, I've not heard of it.
Do you know what it is?
No.
Oh my God. Steel Battalion was this, I think I'm getting this right, but basically it was a thing that came with a giant controller, as in like tank, like acceleration, all this complex stuff.
For the GameCube?
No, I think it was on the first Xbox. I'm pretty sure I'm getting that right. Maybe PC. People can correct me if I'm screwing this up. It might be a PlayStation thing. But yeah, those are the kind of main people. But like to me, they made it to kind of be very Nintendo, but also acknowledging that Nintendo was up against like this new world of gaming with PlayStation, because gaming, it brought out like mature audience stuff, and it was kind of hardcore and mature, but it didn't feel adult. It still felt like it's a cartoon. It's got a very manga-y style. Yeah. And I think that worked for Nintendo in that way.
Definitely.
But, evidently very popular, very good game. Ended up on PlayStation anyway. So I've got a title here that says, Liz, the story gets bonkers.
I saw that in your notes.
So I'm going to tell you about the story.
I love a bonkers story.
So you're playing
Is
through all
David
these...
Cage involved?
He's not. There's no Cage at all. No. No murder. Well, so I've told you about Captain Blue already, right?
Yeah.
We know that Captain Blue is a bit of a maniac. He's got his belly hanging out. He's got his outie belly button.
He just doesn't care anymore.
No, he's a little bit of an interesting guy. Now, it may surprise you to learn that as you go through the game, you beat all these bosses, you get to the last level, which is the space station.
Space station?
Correct.
Captain Blue's your dad?
No, you're very close.
You in the future?
No. Oh, that would be great. No, it's not that. Basically, Captain Blue, Sylvia's dad.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
Also, which is interesting, Captain Blue is Sylvia's long missing father, a film director who, Jumanji style, got sucked into one of his own
Love
films.
this.
And he had a history of making hero films, and he became bitter and twisted, stuck in his film, started making bad guys. And so that's what all the bad guys are that you fight. They're all of his creation. So it's a bit Mega Man-esque if you think about like Dr. Wily and all of the robots and all that kind of stuff. And hang on, let
That's
me
so good. Really
make sure I'm getting this all right. So yeah, he has basically... he needs Sylvia's DNA for something. So he's made his evildoers snatch her from the real world. I can't remember why. People who know this game better than me can just shout at their stereo.
Mad villains don't need reasons, do they?
No. But
surely they have similar DNA, so why does he need hers?
I don't know. There's probably any Honda blood type conversation to be had there somewhere. So basically, you have to beat up Captain Blue, beat him, and then he's like, oh yeah, cheers for that. Sorry about that. I do totally love my daughter after all. By the way, aliens are coming. So, Sylvia, here's a magical watch you can have too, and you best go and fight those aliens. End of game.
Oh, and that opens up to
Viewtiful Joe 2.
Oh, that's good.
So it's just a bit of a very subtle, the ending was just like, wait, what? What? Oh. And then it's just like, cut.
That's cool. So I like that.
I just love that.
Nice twist.
And then the follow-ups, there were a few follow-ups. So Viewtiful Joe Revival was also on GameCube. It was like an even easier mode with some little add-ons version of the first game. Then Viewtiful Joe 2, Sylvia is a playable character. Viewtiful Joe Red Hot Rumble, which is a really bad Smash Brothers clone.
I've not heard of that one.
It's not good. And then Viewtiful Joe Double Trouble I think it was on the first Nintendo DS.
Not heard of that one either.
But it was kind of similar to the first game. And then they threw in a bunch of stylus nonsense, which was a bit rubbish. And like I said, it's a bit of a manga-y art style. It had its own anime, which was quite true to the thing. And there was just lots of fighting these weird creatures. But I didn't watch it because I don't think it's dubbed, and I'm lazy.
I wonder where that's available. It might be on Crunchyroll.
It might be a Crunchyroll job. But yeah, I've got a couple of bits of trivia for you.
Yeah?
It was originally going to be called Red Hot Man, but they worried it was going to be confused with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, so they changed it. I don't know if that's pronounced Red Hot Man, Red Hotman.
Or Red Hotman.
Or Red
Hotman.
Yeah, my other trivia was, I have a cosplay of Viewtiful Joe that I wore to a wedding.
Can I see?
Well, not right now, but
okay.
I'm going to post it on the blog. And we're going to take the photo for the winner early next week. So you will get to see it in real life. Viewtiful Joe was so popular in Japan that Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi, I hope I'm getting that right, named him Ayamata Fidabaku, which translates to Hero of the Year.
Oh, that's really sweet.
And that's basically all I have to tell you about my wonderful Viewtiful Joe.
But why is it special to you?
It's special to me. So I got this was 2003. I got this in the second year of university. And we just spent many hours replaying this game because at that time there was a lot of stuff that was, it was when first Halo was quite big.
Yeah, that's a good point actually.
And there was a lot of stuff that was kind of and Call of Duty 1 and 2, Medal of Honor, these kind of things. I was playing PC games as well. As per my gaming history, episode 7, check it out.
PC Magoo.
Yeah. So there wasn't anything crazy colourful like this. A lot of the stuff that looked like this was all in fighting games.
Yeah, that's true.
We were playing Marvel vs. Capcom, the Dreamcast was around that time. Well, was over by that point, but we rebought it and we're playing a lot of things. But the GameCube just had this kind of it's one of my favorite game catalogs.
Yeah,
because it had Monkey Ball, it had this.
Yeah.
And they were just, Mario Sunshine GameCube?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, it is Sunshine.
Oh,
and Wind Waker.
Yeah, the GameCube was great.
So the cell shading was great. And there's just it was basically after the N64 where there was a lot of stuff where it's kind of PlayStation, great game. And then you've got even Saturn, you've got this thing. And then N64, really cut down version of the whatever game.
Yeah.
It was always just kind of
Nightmare Creatures. That was like a cut down version for PlayStation.
Yeah, to taking out all like FMV and stuff like that it couldn't do. Where the GameCube was kind of just this quirky, like it was a purple cube.
Yeah, it was great.
And like even
with a
this
little carry handle,
and inside tiny discs. The only console to ever have tiny miniature CDs. And even there's a little doodle there as to how to get the disc
the little
out.
memory card storage. I love my GameCube.
Yeah, love the GameCube. And so we just had this replay value of this, and absolutely loved it. It appealed to all of the things I loved. Loved films, was studying filmmaking and other pursuits. Loved strong art direction, loved comic books. It was just like everything in a perfect little package. And Capcom had delivered Mega Man and other things that I'd loved from the past at that point. So I was just like, this is it. This is my jam. And it remains to this day very much my jam.
Do I remember that like the sound effects and music were pretty dead good as well? Like there was a lot of like comic sound effects and punches.
Oh yeah,
and,
it was very like action movie over the top sound effects, and the music was very again quite like what you'd get in a Marvel versus Capcom or one of those things, kind of like or like an arcade driving game kind of thing. But yeah, it was just great fun. It felt great.
Yeah,
like the slow-mo building up punches, like it was just perfect, and it's still, as you would say, they're good. But Liz,
do you think any games have taken from it since? Have you played any games after that you've been like?
It's a good question. Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of 2D beat 'em ups, the way that they deal with kind of hits landing. I talked about this a lot with Streets of Rage, and I think this draws from Streets of Rage, in how you go into slow mo and the game sort of slows down a little bit when those punches land. But games taking from it since, I don't know so much. Certainly the art style is similar to things or had influences from things that had gone before, like Jet Set Radio, for example.
Yeah, Jet Set Radio was great.
Or Jet Grind Radio. I'm not sure where those two different things were from. It was called that somewhere. Oh. But yeah, the art style, I don't know really. Like there's certain things like Castle Crashers that remind me of this, but are a bit more higher paced. But yeah, there's not a lot that I can think that does. I think that the platforming felt perfect.
Yep.
I think the walk speed is a little bit slow is the only criticism I could possibly think of, but it's perfect with the pacing of the whole game. So really it's great. I wouldn't say it's crazy influential because I think it's such a distinct artistic style and consistent creation that it's hard maybe to draw things from it. But I think, like I say, things like Castle Crashers, I think owe a bunch to games like Viewtiful Joe. Yeah.
Viewtiful Joe is a good one. Yeah. I think it's dead. Good.
But Liz, you have not managed to guess my first feedback. False feedback.
False feedback. I think that your false feedback is that so it's not Bruce.
No, it's not Bruce. It's not my cosplay. It's all real.
It's not your cosplay. I know it's not your cosplay. Is it a subtle one again?
Not really. No? I kind of put a bit of effort into this one.
Really?
Yeah.
I've missed it.
I didn't just change one tiny detail. So, Liz, I told you 3 pieces of trivia. One was my cosplay. We know that's true.
Yeah.
Then I told you about Red Hotman, and I told you about the Prime Minister. Which one of those do you think?
Please don't tell me that the Prime Minister's false.
It is the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister didn't name him Ayamata Fidabaka.
He named him Red Hotman.
No, he didn't do that either. He didn't name anything. That Japanese phrase translates to false feedback.
Does it?
Yeah.
That's dead good like that. But did he say anything about the game at all? Was he not involved?
No, he's not involved.
You've just involved the president for no reason.
I've just invoked the Prime Minister for no reason.
The Prime Minister, sorry, not the president.
Yeah. So Liz, we're ready for your game now.
Oh yeah.
And I've got an email from Joe, friend of the show. I can now call him Viewtiful Joe.
Viewtiful Joe, friend of the show.
And I'm ready to open this text file. I don't know what the game is, and I'm not going to open it until we give you a little quiz. You claim to know everything about the game. Mm-hmm. Now, I think you should do your full description of it.
Yeah.
Tell us everything.
Yeah.
And then when we get to the questions, it might well be that you've already answered all of them.
So
but
excited.
It might well be that we need to run you through your paces.
I know everything.
We'll see. Liz, tell me your game.
So what do you think it is? Because I've mentioned like my 2 biggest favourite games.
I'm either... Well,
I have 2 joint favourites, and I'm bringing one of them today.
Okay. I'm going to name 2 games I think it is.
Okay.
I think it's either Silent Hill or Resident Evil.
Really?
Yeah.
One of
Liz
those...
is doing a, if you don't know me, face of like, well, you fucked that up.
If one of those I'm doing for the last episode of season 2. Spoiler.
Oh, okay.
But that's not what I'm bringing this week.
Okay.
I'm going to get me bag.
Okay.
The 1999 Squaresoft
Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh,
why was I too slow?
Look how beautiful it is. This is so immaculately kept.
That is.
This
manual
looks
snooker
like,
umpire gloves to handle.
Yeah. This manual looks like it's been ironed. Disc 3 is not in there because I'm playing it again.
I mean, you've got to be consistent, haven't you?
I've got to be consistent.
I don't know why there's not another game in there.
On disc 4 there. So Final Fantasy VIII, 1999, across all 4 discs.
Well.
This was, of course, mentioned in my gaming history, the one that my mum bought me for my birthday, along with Resident Evil 3. The game that I burnt my radiator back with.
Wait, do you want to try that sentence again?
That I burnt my back on the radiator with. Look how excited I am just holding it.
Yeah.
I love it. And so this year, so Square Enix.
Yes.
So back in the day, Squaresoft. So they became Square Enix in 2003. But before that, Square was founded in 1986, the year of my birth. Ooh, how odd. Maybe it was all for me. And I forgot what my point was.
They were like, Liz McCurry's been born. We better put a studio together.
Yeah. You know what Liz McCurry would really like? Final Fantasy VIII. Well, let's
8 games that lead up to maybe one she'd love.
So yeah, I forgot what my point was that I was going into then.
Soz.
But yeah, favourite game this.
Right. Am I allowed to hold it?
So yes, you can hold this, and I've also bought some of the bits as well.
Liz has ceremoniously passed this sweaty
it is
copy.
very sweaty. I'm holding it with love. So this is an unopened Final Fantasy piano collections.
Wow.
So I love Final Fantasy VIII. It's not my favourite. No, it's not. It's not my favourite Final Fantasy soundtrack, I must say, but it has my favourite track in it.
Okay.
I have one opened and one unopened.
Of course.
You can also touch this.
Okay.
And then I have this, which is brilliant. And if you're a Final Fantasy VIII fan, I recommend getting this.
Okay. We're going to take pictures of all of this and put it on the blog, fiercefeedback.fun, so you can see all of Liz's collection.
So there is a company called Third Editions, and they do gaming books.
Wow. And
they did one called The Legend of Final Fantasy VIII, the Creation, Universe and Decryption. And this is basically a book about the whole lore of Final Fantasy VIII, character bios, a summary of the story, and then a bit that I particularly love is the conspiracy theories, like fan theories of the game are kind of discussed in there. And they've done research into like interviews with the developers to see if any of those fan theories would be true and that kind of thing. So if you're a big fan of Final Fantasy VIII, I definitely recommend looking into that. The Third Editions, The Legend of Final Fantasy VIII, and look at the beautiful book, hardback, Squall's Gunblade on there. It's
a beautiful mix of a completely matte white book with a glossy Gunblade and then text in the centre.
It's just beautiful.
Very beautiful design.
Very beautifully
great typography. You know, I love a bit of typography.
I know. It's a really great book.
And it smells very new book.
Does it smell like I've kept it?
It doesn't smell stinky Liz, let's say.
So I have 3 copies of Final Fantasy VIII in case I lose it. 2 are normal, 1 is platinum.
By that, do you mean in case you lose it and smash 2 up?
Yeah.
Out of love.
I have 2 copies of the piano collections, one sealed, one not. I have the full soundtrack on 4 discs.
How many of this book?
I have 1 of that book.
Ooh.
I have I have 1 Squall Kai Art statue. I have the smaller
these
Kai
are
Art
words that
statue.
don't mean anything to me until you explain
of
this
all
game
the characters from Final Fantasy VIII.
Okay.
I have so much memorabilia of this game. I have a subset of it of my shelf in the front room.
Tell me what exists that you don't have that you'd really love. Are there any bits that you like, oh, I really need that for my collection?
Yeah. So when the game came out, it was around the time, I don't know if you remember it, where they used to have postcards in the cinemas that would show new games and films coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a collection of postcards of the game that I've subsequently lost, and I would love to get them back.
And that's tough.
One of them was, there's a cutscene where Squall, your main guy, is running away from one of the first bosses, and so he's jumping towards the ship to get away, and you can see the boss behind him. That's like one of the iconic scenes that they use for a lot of the promo. And then on the back, the tagline of the game is "You'll get over it, ... someday." Still not over it.
Oh,
Still not over it. I really wish I could find those postcards.
Yeah.
Also, I never got a Renoa Hartley Kai Arts figure either. So I don't have them.
Right.
I'm very excited to talk about this game.
Liz, if you'll permit me to interrupt, I know basically nothing about the Final Fantasy franchise. I am not an RPG person, and truth be told, always a little bit put off by the grammatical issue around the title.
Why?
Because it's clearly not the Final Fantasy. There's fucking 15 of them, right? Just call it Fantasy 1 to 15. So
there was this false feedback going around.
Hold on.
That the reason it was called Final Fantasy is because when they did Final Fantasy 1, they were like, oh, we're not going to make any money, so this is going to be our last game. So they called it Final Fantasy.
Is that an urban myth? Or is that
it's an urban myth. It's not true.
I like it anyway.
I think, and I don't know, this is just me being me, I think it's a Final Fantasy because it's always a different world and different characters. And there's some themes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's some themes that come over. So for those of you that don't know,
please.
Final Fantasy is a role-playing game, an RPG. So I've only played Final Fantasies 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 15.
Right, okay.
So I don't know if this is true for all.
It doesn't sound like an only. It seems like you've got good coverage to me.
Especially like the earlier ones.
Yeah.
But especially like the PlayStation 1 era ones. So usually you've got a like band of characters with all their backstories, and you're all in a team working towards a common goal. There's usually an element of like world exploration, and usually at some stage in the game you'll get some vehicle that grants you access to the wider world.
Oh, okay. So is it an open world of roaming around? But how does the story play out in a linear fashion then? Or does it?
So, God, I love this game. So, speaking from a Final Fantasy VIII, I'll speak from a Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah.
So, the story plays out in a linear fashion where you're kind of going from one point to the next with these story plots. And then at some point in the game, it opens up to this like area of exploration where you're kind of like, now find this place. Right. And you'll have a vehicle that kind of gets you around the world, and you have the map and you have to find it yourself. So...
And this is common in the different iterations.
It's common throughout. So you'll get an airship, definitely in 7, 8, and 9. And then you'll have a battle system, which was like, you'd have like turn-based battle system in the earlier ones. So like 7, 8, and 9, you would have a bar that would fill up. And once your bar was full, you could select what you wanted to do from a menu of options. Right. So you could like attack, cast magic, like use an item, have special ability, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then in between battles, you would be like wandering around the world, trying to find out like your next mission, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then it's not like common RPGs these days where you will find random people and you'll get like a quest log. you kind of back in the day had to manage that yourself. You'd bump into this random person and be like, oh, I've heard about these ruins in Cetra, and there's like this guy there that you can be your ally. But it's not added to any sort of quest log. You're just like, all right then, pal. And then you kind of carry on. So it was kind of like the old school exploration where you would kind of rock up to these Cetra ruins and then be like, oh, it's what that guy spoke about. And then you kind of have an idea of what to do.
Yeah.
So there was that real element of exploration and finding out about the world that was just super awesome.
Okay.
In those kind of games.
So tell me about 8 specifically.
So 8 is my favourite, and everybody says it's because it's the first one I played. Everyone tells me 7's the best, but 8 is my favourite because of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a sucker for a love story, a good love story. So, right, I'm a sucker for a good love story.
Fact 1 about Liz.
Who doesn't want a sword that is also a gun?
No one.
Everyone.
Yeah.
If that's what you want.
You asked who doesn't, but sure.
Love sorceresses. Love to be a sorceress.
Okay.
It's got them in it. And I'm also I just love discussions about like fate and are we fated and is everything like predetermined. Love that shit.
Fatalism.
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 Fatalism. That's going to be my new Twitter handle. And this has all of it.
Right.
So, story is, I'll get onto the talent because there's a lot of talent who made this.
Okay.
But let's just give you a little bit of the story, all right?
Please.
So, your squall.
What's that?
A man.
Okay.
It
could be a beast.
It's a man on the front, look, with his floppy hair.
I looked on the back of this and it's like a chicken.
I haven't read the back of the box. What am I doing? Breaking my formula. Right, okay. You ready?
Yep.
Final Fantasy VIII, The Journey of a Lifetime. It is.
Correct.
A member of an elite... This is definitely written better than I can say. My description would not be this concise. A member of an elite military team... It's actually Squall, but... Squall is forced into a conflict beyond imagination. To survive, he must contend with a desperate rival, a powerful sorceress, and his own mysterious dreams. Mm. Realistic detailed characters and background graphics enhanced by a breathtaking musical score. All of that is true. So it was pre-rendered backgrounds, which back in the day, the FMVs in this and the pre-rendered backgrounds, like I seriously didn't think graphics would ever get better than that.
Yeah, why would they?
The beginning cutscene still gives me goosebumps.
Oh.
It's mad.
Cool.
An epic story of love. Love that.
Check.
Hate, not so much. War. Don't.
Not a fan.
Peace. Don't mind it. Set in a massive world. What's not to love? The new junction system, best system in any Final Fantasy, allows characters to get customized with awesome magic spells drawn from enemies. Stunning motion captured CG cinema segments seamlessly integrated into gameplay.
Good lord.
It's just bloody marvellous, I tell you that.
Okay.
Tell you that for nothing.
So this was a landmark Final Fantasy game.
I would say 7 was a landmark Final Fantasy game. This had a lot to live up to after 7.
Right.
Which I think is why it's met with such backlash.
Right.
So 7 is, I think 8 is treated as the poor cousin to 7.
But do you think that's just because of expectation?
I do think it's because of expectation. I think it was very different. It was more... The graphics and the character design was a bit more realistic, even though it was the same character designer, Tetsuya Nomura.
Yeah. Well, you have to, after, it's like any band, right? Doing an amazing album.
Yeah.
Your follow-up's always going to be worse received. And it's all, and there's the pressure to try something different or just deliver a lot of the same, neither of which are going to work out, right?
And this doesn't deliver a lot of the same.
Which is good, right? That's the best risk to take, I think.
I agree. Also, I think I'm just a sucker for this kind of thing because, Fall Out Boy, one of my favourite bands, Under the Cork Tree.
Nobody's perfect.
Their best album. Ugh. Everybody says, Follow You Do. Follow-up album. Best album. Isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Can't relate. Anyway. But please continue.
So, this was released in September 1999. Weird that, isn't it? Because my birthday...
is in September.
22nd of September.
I know that.
1986. So, Square founded 1986. They knew about it. Released in September. My birthday, isn't it? And then... The
just for the audience,
director...
I'm also as confused as you are, go on. The
director, Yoshinori Kitase, I hope I've said his name right. I really hope I don't offend anybody. The director, Yoshinori, born 23rd of September, day after me, isn't it?
Weird. What does it mean, Liz?
It was all fatalism. It was all for me.
It's all fatalism.
It's all fatalism made for me. So anyway, story, that's what I was talking about,
Yes,
isn't it?
please tell me what happens to Squall, the man named after weather.
Just like Cloud from 7, though, I guess. It's just stuff in the sky, isn't it?
Brilliant.
And lightning in 13. Anyway, so you're Squall.
Yeah.
You are part of a school called Barlam Garden.
Balham Garden.
Barlam Garden. You get to drive that a bit later.
Weird. Weird. What does it mean, Liz?
What does it mean? So Barlam Garden, and you are a student in the garden, a seed. Seed and garden.
What?
A seed. That's the name of the students.
Oh, right. Okay. I didn't know how abstract they'd got. Go on.
And so the
Still a
gardens-
person, right?
Still a person, still
Okay.
Squall.
Yeah.
So you're in this military school because you're being trained to fight sorceresses. So back in the day, there was a sorceresses war. There was like a big war, and they ended up sealing the evil sorceress away in space.
Is this how posh kids get taught to hunt foxes?
Yep, this is exactly what it's
It's
like.
exactly like that. Thanks for humouring me. Go on.
And so the beginning of the game is you know, the whole training levels is you taking your exam, effectively.
Okay.
And then you get to meet the team that you're going to be doing the exam with and all that kind of stuff. So the whole training level is like you are a student and you're graduating into the world. Like fast forward a little bit later, it's a really in-depth, awesome story. I'm really putting it into a nutshell.
Okay.
You end up meeting this girl called Renoa who you fall in love with.
Obviously.
And she is, in some way or another, a lot of story in this, going to become she may become a sorceress.
Oh, no.
And so it's going to be...
So there's a little Romeo and Juliet situation.
Yeah.
Never the twain shall meet.
Now, the bad guy, or bad gal, is
Oh.
one of my favourite, evil peoples ever. What are they called?
Villains.
Evil bosses?
They're
Villains,
called
that's
villains.
it. So she's called Artemisia.
Okay. Bless you.
And she is a sorceress. Get this, if I was a sorceress, I think this is a great idea. So she wants to rule the world, don't we all?
Sure.
But what she's going to do is use a bit of time magic to compress the past, present and future. So she doesn't only rule the world, she rules all times.
All times, plural.
Times,
Not just
plural.
one time.
How
Not
good is
one all
that?
time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Seems a little bit... Why not just go from then on, from whenever you take over the world?
I'd want to rule the past as well. I'm totally on board with it.
Seems a little bit vain to me, but sure.
Well, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
If I was a sorceress, that's what I'd do.
Well, I'll look forward to it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you'd ever become that, then
All
I
the
know that you
dinosaurs
never
as
will
well.
now, because you would be ruling now, wouldn't you? You would be doing a video game podcast. So, not to ruin your aspirations.
Well, you know,
But you're
we've
never
all got
gonna be
to
a
have
sorceress.
dreams, haven't we?
Yeah.
So, alongside that,
Yeah.
love Squall.
Mm.
Alongside that, when Squall's asleep, he keeps passing out and having these dreams involving this guy called Laguna,
Sure. Yeah.
who is one of my favourite characters in any Final Fantasy ever. He's just like a total goof. He's always getting things wrong. He has no idea what he's doing, but he's just like a super kind-hearted, sweet guy. So everyone like goes along with him and wants to help him.
But he meets him in a dream or in the game or in real
They
life
never
game.
meet in the dreams.
Right.
You just take control of Laguna in the dreams. So
Oh,
you're
okay.
kind of playing as a different party.
Okay.
Anyway, you meet later. Turns out it's your dad, isn't it?
Oh, fine. Yeah. Yeah. Why wouldn't it be?
So just love this game to death. And it's getting a remaster that's due out this year that I'm very excited about because I still replay the old one like maybe twice a year.
Oh, cool.
And it just gives me headaches.
Oh, because it's, jank. So
Because it's jank, yeah.
We're jumping around a little bit here.
Sorry, yeah, I know. I'm
That's
just really
fine.
excited.
I know you're very excited about this. It's very clear.
I might have to do another one, like it's part 2, isn't it?
What? Because you haven't crammed enough info.
Mm.
Let's see what I can extract from you in terms of Final Fantasy VIII info.
Okay.
So you are Squall.
I am.
You are someone who's trained to hunt sorceresses, sorcerai,
Sorcerer, yeah.
whatever it is, sorceressi. So your love interest is a sorceress. Slight problem. I think you'll agree. How does that play out?
Well, it plays out in that... Well, one of the fan... I'm not going to answer your question on that. I'm just going to carry on. So one of the fan theories...
Thanks for the interruption, Will.
One of the fan theories is that Renoa, your love interest, is in fact...
Your mum. No?
No.
Okay.
Is in fact Ultimisia. But because of the time compression...
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of your timelines have all got mixed up, and that's Ultimisia was actually Renoa in the future.
Okay.
Which, because of a few bits in the game, and again, this book covers it. It's never been said true or not by the developers, and I still kind of believe that. That's the impression I got.
That is her, same person, same character.
Yeah, that's the impression that I got. And that's how I found this fan theory, because I was kind of Googling about it. And I was like, I wonder if that's true. So the way that it plays out is that you make a pact with each other because you've fallen in love, that if anything was to happen, and even if she became like the most evil sorceress and lost control, that he would stand by her and be her knight. And that when all the world went to hell,
he would take care of her, as it were, as in like kill her.
Oh, no,
he's ride or die.
Yeah, he's ride or die.
Got it.
So that they would meet in this field if it all went to hell, and then he would protect her, and that's how it would be, kind of thing.
In a field?
Yeah. Okay. It's the way that the game opens. So the game opens with this field with lots of like pink flowers fluttering around, and there's a girl, which it turns out to be Renoa, stood in the field, like waiting for you.
Right.
So you go to Ultimisia's castle. It's great.
Okay.
You fight Ultimisia, you kill her. She's ridiculously hard. She has like 4 forms.
Oh, no.
You know, back in the day when
you had one form.
Like she's got 4 forms. The music at the end is incredible when you fight her. And then when it ends, time goes mental. And
as it were.
I think like everything's uncompressing.
Oh, okay.
So time zones are flicking.
Unfolding, yeah.
Everything's unfolding. It's kind of like Squall's life's flashing before his eyes. And he just can't find Renoa. So he's trying to find Renoa and he can't find her. Right. And then when everything settles and time's uncompressed and whatever, she finds him in the field.
Nice.
And then it has a really nice ending. The ending is kind of like a home video. And it's going round the ball that's being held at the school. Barlam Garden.
The school ball.
And videoing all the characters from it and like what they're up to now they've saved the world.
Oh,
so there's
nice.
like the guys.
Ensemble.
Yeah, so Zell, who's one of the characters in it, he's my favourite. He loves hot dogs. So the camera zooms on him and he's choking on hot dogs, so he's put so many in his mouth. 2 characters that kind of get together in the game are kind of like, she's wearing his cowboy hat and they've kind of got their arms around each other. And it's just like a nice little...
I love it when games or films end with a like... what happened next to all the characters.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I was watching what I think is a very good thriller the other day, a film called Before I Go to Sleep. I won't tell you what happens in the film. It's a very good film. You should watch it. But it was one of those kind of serious things where it ends with like the character having this realization, and you're like, oh God. And you kind of want to see the repercussions of that.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to have just like 5 months later, all of the different things that are playing out, but it's just tonally would not work at all. Oh. But I just really wanted that, and I want that in any game.
I love stuff like that.
So you mentioned earlier that there's usually in a Final Fantasy game, there's a band of people, a band of heroes. You've only mentioned Squall and Renoa.
Let's have a look in the manual.
Also, just want to point out this book that you've got here, The Legend of Final Fantasy VIII, Creation Universe Decryption by Remy Lopez.
Yeah.
He's been very smart here to avoid copyright issues. No pictures. Whole book.
No pictures in the whole book.
Just words. Lots of words.
Lots of wonderful words. So I'm just opening up the manual.
It
does look like it's been ironed, doesn't it?
It does.
So on the prologue picture, so this is Squall, your main man. Love him. This is Aguna. Love him. They're just 2 really great characters to like get to.
I thought that one was a lady, but that's my bad.
That's
just long hair. Laguna Loire.
So Squall is your main man.
Right.
And then Renoa
Yep.
Selfie. So Selfie's like your comedy
way ahead
relief.
of her time.
Way ahead of her time.
Yeah.
She's the comedy relief kind of ditzy, clumsy character.
Okay.
Like in the later Final Fantasies, she's like your Riku kind of.
Of course. Who doesn't know Riku?
Irvine was never really in my party. I didn't have him in my party very much.
So you don't have to interact with all of them? If you
No, you can swap them out. So you have 6 characters and then you can swap. You can have 3 at a time.
Okay.
So my main party would be Squall, Selfie, and Zell.
Okay.
So Rinoa, her kind of thing was that she had a dog.
Yeah.
And you could use the dog in battle and fire it like a cannon. Why not?
The old dog cannon.
So Selfie had this limit break. So a limit break is something that happens when you're low on health. And her limit break would be you could cast different types of magic. And she had one particular magic called the End that would just end any battle, even boss battles.
Oh, I thought you were say it would switch off your PlayStation.
Can you imagine?
Mom.
I liked her for like her mageness. So Irvine had this thing where you could collect. He has a big gun, as you can see. He's a bit of a cowboy character.
Gunslinger.
So he would have his fighting style was that you could collect different items to make different gunpowder. So he would have different effects.
Cool.
He wasn't my favourite character. Didn't really like him much. And then
tell me about Zell.
And Zell was my favourite. So he was very sprightly and really optimistic and lovely. And his fighting style was very much like Tifa's from Final Fantasy VII, where he was like a brawler. He would use his fists.
Okay.
And he had a lot of Tifa's moves as well.
Okay.
So it was quite familiar if you were from 7. And he was just very nice, and I just really liked his character. So I played this when I was 11, and so each one of the characters is just a very big trope of being a teenager, which I think is why I enjoyed it so much. So Squall is like moody and stoic and just wants to be on his own. Rinoa is very naive, and then Selfie and Zell kind of have this like naive optimism.
Right.
So each, and then like Irvine's very insecure. Oh, I forgot Christis. Oh, Christis is your teacher, and she has a whip. And so she
as
uses...
is standard for teachers at the time, yeah.
So she has an ability called Blue Magic, which means that she can take on the abilities of monsters. So if you defeat a monster, you can use an item and she'll do one of the attacks that the monster does.
Oh, cool.
So they all have their different abilities that you can use. So the junction system, just going to say it really quickly, I know I'm babbling on. So the junction system is something that's never been used in a Final Fantasy before or since.
Oh, okay.
And what that
But
meant,
you said you really like it.
I love it.
Okay.
I think it's the best one. It made sense to me. But a lot of people missed it because there's a quite heavy tutorial at the beginning of how to use it.
Okay.
But it just clicked with my brain for some reason.
So for some people, they never touched it? Or...
Yeah, some people finish the game without ever like getting to the pinnacle of how to use it.
Okay.
So what you would do was you would draw magic from the world or from enemies, and then you could junction it to your statuses.
Yeah.
So you could like junction fire to your attack and it would enhance your attack power and that kind of thing. And then you could equip it to your defense. So you could equip like fire to your defense. So if anyone used a fire attack on you, you'd absorb it. And you could do it for like status effects as well, like poison, so you could never get poisoned.
Okay.
So it was just a really sophisticated way of like using your magic. And if you really used it well, you could just soup up your hit points, like your health and your strength, just straight from the beginning of the game.
Do you think that maybe was a reason why some people didn't vibe with it the same way as 7 as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
In 7, you could attach materia to your weapons. I think that was how it worked. You just have these materia orbs that had like certain abilities that you could like equip to your character.
Yeah.
This junction system was a lot more in depth, but it was really powerful.
Okay.
And then you also had guardian forces that was like animals, like creatures that you could summon, and they do like devastating attacks with like a little cutscene.
Okay. So do you think that maybe they would just shy of ever using it again because they thought, people don't get it, it's too much?
There's a lot of like the junction system. If you talk about Final Fantasy fans to it, people either love it or hate it. There's no one who's like, yeah, it's all right. He's like, oh gosh, it's such a ball ache, or I didn't really get it. Or there's people like me that like had 9,999 hit points by the end of disc 1 and like could kill bosses in one attack because they just souped up the characters. Yeah.
Okay.
If you used it well, you were just like unstoppable.
Very cool.
Great. Love this game.
So Liz, I do think that you can carry on forever, At some point,
I'm so sorry.
I'm going to do Quiz Mercury
Quiz
from
Mercury.
lovely Joe Robbins, friend of the show, with some questions. I'm now opening them on my phone.
Are you doing the questions now?
What they are. I think you're going to get most of these.
Do you think?
Yeah, just based on how easy they seem. I don't know what
There's so much that I want to say that I've not said.
Okay, then tell me more.
No, but we might not have time. This is going to be like Silent Hill, where I'm just here forever and we have to cut bits out.
But this is the beauty of the podcast format. It's not time limited. Please tell me more.
So, a few other bits that I really like about it.
Who made it?
Yep, let me tell you about who made it. Obviously a very big team of people who made it, but I'm just going to highlight a few of the keys.
Please do.
So Tetsuya Nomura, I mentioned him earlier, was the character designer. So he was game artist, designer, now director at Square Enix. So he did the characters for the Final Fantasy series, first in Final Fantasy VI. He did Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, cool.
Parasite Eve, and The Bouncer, which I've mentioned.
Oh, The Bouncer. It's a throwback to episode 1, if you want to go and have a little listen to that.
And he was the director of the CGI Final Fantasy VII film Advent Children.
Okay.
So Nobuo Uematsu was the composer, and he's probably one of the most well-known composers in the games industry.
Okay.
That's just me saying that. That's not been printed or certified anywhere.
But you're sure of it. But it is true.
So he's worked on a lot of the Final Fantasy titles. So there's a live show every year called Distant Worlds in London. Well, it's all over the world, but London's the one I went to.
Yes.
I went to the 30th anniversary one last year.
Right.
And my favourite Final Fantasy song ever is the Bari Fatale from Final Fantasy VIII. And also Apocalypse Noctis from Final Fantasy 15, which is by Yoko Shimomura, who previously worked for Capcom. Bit of a throwback to your...
Nice.
So yeah, when they played Labari Fatale live, I got a goose pimple. I nearly exploded. I had that many goose pimples. It was insane. It's such a good song. And then Yoshinori Kitase, like I said, he was born the day after me, but in 1966. And he's the producer. And he worked on Final Fantasy Adventure in 1991 for the Game Boy. And he was the original producer of Final Fantasy 15 and is the director of the Final Fantasy 7 remake, which is coming out next year.
Yes.
So that's the talent. So just another little thing. So I've talked about the turn-based battles. I've talked about the junction system. There's a mini-game in it, which is the best mini-game ever in any game.
I think you've mentioned this mini-game before. Go on.
Triple Triad, the card game.
Yeah,
it's just the best. Like, I'm so excited about the remaster of Final Fantasy VIII to have on my Switch, just so I can sit on trains, planes, and automobiles playing Triple Triad.
Okay, what it is?
So it's a card game where you play against an AI opponent, and each area of the map unlocks different rules. So some rules will have different rules to others. So you can get really good in one area, move to somewhere new on the map, and just get annihilated.
Okay.
Some key characters have key cards, and so the cards can be refined for items. So Laguna's card can be refined for, I think it's 100 heroes, and heroes turn you invisible in battle. So if you've got a really hard boss, you can just turn invisible 100 times. It's great.
So this sounds like a game unto itself, but it's actually a meta game part of
that helps you.
That you use. Right. It's not like a side game, or because usually when people say mini game, it's like, well, I guess just in my kind of gaming history, it's things that are played off to the side that don't really change that much about the core gameplay that much. Yeah. Is that?
So, yeah, I know what you mean.
Maybe that's just my experience certain arcadey old games.
So, So there's, like in Final Fantasy VII, there's the Golden Saucer.
Of course.
So
who could forget the Golden Saucer?
When you go to play the card games, you can play lots of other mini games, but you play the card games of the Golden Saucer, and then...
what is the Golden Saucer, Liz?
It's like a big tower with lots of mini games.
Oh, it's a place.
It's a place.
Got it.
And so what you would do is you have a card deck each, and it's got a picture of a monster on it, and then the monster has 4... It's a bit like Top Trumps. So it has 4 numbers for different like attributes.
Yeah.
So you have 4 numbers at the top of the card. And so you have to flip the cards. So if you have a card which has a 4 on its right, you would have to put a 5 on the left, so it would flip.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You mean flip as in like beat
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then there's some rules like elemental, so it would place like elemental icons on the board. So if your card that you were playing was a water monster, you could place it on the water icon and it would boost all its stats by 1 kind of thing.
Got it.
So it would introduce lots of rules like that. It was just very good.
Cool.
Now, I feel like I've probably been babbling about an hour now.
It certainly feels like a couple of days worth, yeah.
Yeah, and I could go on. That's the thing.
Well, what else is cool about the game? What else do you want to mention? What other headings have you got in your notes that you're excited about?
What have I put?
Because I think this is quite a significant game. I love Viewtiful Joe, and obviously I would choose it because I don't play RPGs. But I think that this is probably a more significant game for people. So I'm imagining you might win in this finale.
8's the underdog.
But maybe people love an underdog.
When I told Joe, Joe was like, I'll do the quiz for you. What game is it? I was like, Final Fantasy VIII. And he was like, oh. And that's the reaction I always get. People are always like, yeah, but 7 though.
Well, in that case, I'm going to jump right into Quiz Mercury.
Quiz Mercury.
So let us just remind ourselves that Liz claims to know everything about this game.
Everything.
Joe has provided me with 5 questions.
5?
About Final Fantasy VIII.
I can get 5 out of 5.
I think you can.
I hope so. Otherwise, it's going to be the worst bluff ever.
Liz Mercury, question the first.
I know.
In what year did Final Fantasy VIII begin development?
I don't know. Oh, no, it began... So
I love that. I know everything about this game. First question. I don't know.
So Final Fantasy VII was released in 1997, and I think it was around then that it was being developed.
What's your answer?
97.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Question 2.
That was a hard one, Joe. Make them easier.
There's 4 more. Strap in.
Okay.
In the Final Fantasy universe, who is said to have created the game Triple Triad?
I genuinely don't know.
Oh,
I think it's from like the Cetra time. It was like...
So you don't have a name?
No, all I know is that like the king of the cards is meant to be Quistis, but I don't think she created it. Who created it?
Orlan.
Who the hell is Orlan?
I don't know. Not my quiz or my game, which you claim to know everything about.
I don't know.
So that's 1 win, 1 loss so far.
No.
Question 3. Which side quest do you need to complete in order to gain the Poo Poo Triple Triad card?
Oh, it's the UFO side quest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Question 4. What is Diablo's summon attack called? What is Diablo's summon attack called?
Oh my god. He's the one in the lamp and he does the gravity attack. Oh my god, what is it?
What I'm going to do is when I edit this, I'm going to go back and go like, I know everything about this game. I know it all, mate.
Oh, what's it called? It's not Demi.
3, 2, 1.
Dark.
Oh.
No, it's not Dark Matter. It's not Dark Fury.
You're very close. It's Dark something.
Dark. What's it called?
Think AOL.
Dark Internet?
It's not the dark web. Think MSN.
Dark Messenger.
There you go.
It is.
There you go.
Is.
She's got it. I'll give you that one because you got the dark. Finally, I think it's an easy one. It's for me anyway. Final Fantasy VIII is being remastered.
It is.
Which developer is remastering the game?
What do you mean, which developer?
I mean, what do you want to know?
I thought it'd just be like Squaresoft.
Nope.
Square Enix, sorry.
Incorrect.
Don't know.
It is just like Streets of Rage 4, Dotemu.
Really?
I still don't know how to pronounce Dotemu. I'm hoping Joe's got that right, and that's not just the publisher.
That's great.
But
Joe, they were great questions.
There's your great questions, and you got what? 1, 2
3,
and a half.
2.5. I know like half the things about the game.
This is quite a turnaround.
I know everything.
Yeah,
I do.
I mean, we just proved otherwise.
What? The Triple Triad one?
You can't Google it now. That's not you knowing everything.
Who made
So, Liz,
Triple?
I think you've made a good impression about Final Fantasy. Is this where you're going to try and prove Joe Robbins' Quizmaster wrong?
Just having a look.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'm going to do what we always do to round out the podcast and go to talktotransformer.com.
Yeah!
And we're going to find out what Talk to Transformer, a neural network by Adam Daniel King, thinks about Viewtiful Joe. So what we do is we go to this particular website, we type in the name of our game, and we type in the word is. So I've typed in to the custom prompt, Viewtiful Joe is. That's not right. What? Okay. So completion says, Viewtiful Joe is a huge hit in the UK, and some countries are quite similar to this one. The film stars Jack Nicholson, The Shining, All the President's Men, Man with a Plan, Robert De Niro, Sunshine, Moonstruck, Ben Affleck, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. That's not right either. And Matthew McConaughey, Saving Private Ryan and The Social Network. Is any of this right? And Robert Redford, All the President's Men, Titanic. I don't think Redford was in Titanic. On a somewhat smaller scale, this film stars Robert Redford as the title character and Michael Shannon as the antagonist.
That sounds right.
The film takes place... Well, no, it's about Viewtiful Joe. The film takes place when the protagonist is hired to help the American president's wife,
That's exactly
who is
what happens.
struggling with the loss of her husband. For a film that was shot in real life... It was shot in real life. For a film that was shot in real life, the acting and acting cinematography is pretty good.
Pretty good.
The best place to watch it is in the theatres. The film may be a bit of a hit in the UK, but that does not mean that it needs to be seen by everyone. The director was inspired by a story of a group of kids going down the woods of New Hampshire with a tent, a fire, and a stick of dynamite.
What?
The boys went on a destructive spree, and one of their acts caused a major earthquake.
That took a turn.
They broke into buildings, tore things apart, and ate garbage. They later returned to their school, but were left devastated and... That's the end
Eating garbage.
The Talk to Transformer for Viewtiful Joe.
So,
Sorry, can I just call out the idea of Ben Affleck in The Good, the Bad, the Ugly? I think that's pretty great.
I just like the whole eating garbage.
Yeah.
So...
Are you about to... So Liz is about to throw some major shade at Joe. Is this right?
Oh, no, I couldn't find the answer.
Oh, okay. Go on.
No, I'm just going to... No, I don't doubt Joe.
Okay.
I don't doubt Joe. I think...
So it was correct. You're not the master of all Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, no, I am. But I don't know who created Triple Triad.
Okay.
What was the other one I didn't know?
You didn't know Dark
Messenger.
Dark
I know
Messenger.
that now. What was the other one? What was the last one?
The last one was .emu.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
.emu.
So, typing in Final Fantasy VIII is into Touch Transformer, and I've got a little story. Are you ready?
Please.
Final Fantasy VIII is already looking incredibly successful with their marketing. But they've actually done more to raise awareness around the game since debuting, and that awareness includes making sure you know why you're getting your copy of Final Fantasy VIII. To prove their point...
I mean, that is the kind of the job of marketing, but sure.
To prove their point, Square Enix did something pretty impressive today.
Today? Oh.
Square Enix have been doing marketing for Final Fantasy, but never this aggressively and intensely before. At their biggest event today, the publisher showed their latest massive and huge Festival of the Fates video in front of an arena full of cheering, screaming and smiling fans. The big reveal included all the characters brought out of retirement and their respective games as part of the event. You can read about the whole thing and view how to watch it yourself here. I don't know if this is a real thing.
It feels like you're just reading the news right now. What's happening?
Square Enix is clearly showing the world how great their brand is and how they're putting out such incredible material, even if they don't have the ads for it.
Okay.
And that's that. That's just
a damning / glowing review of Square Enix marketing department. Thanks, Talk to Transform.
Thanks to Talk to Transform.
Yep.
You always...
It's strange, man.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Liz, it's the end of an era.
It is, it's the end of
And by an era, I mean a small season of a podcast. A little bit dramatic, to be honest.
Do you know, next season, I want another quiz. Okay. I'm going to get 5 out of 5 this time.
Well, not on that game, you're not.
I am. I am. I'm going to redeem myself.
Okay, well, just think of that. I'm going to remind you said that when we do
I know everything about this game.
Oh, no, you don't. When will you admit that?
Never.
Okay. So, Liz, it's been emotional. We are going to take a little break. And then we're going to do season 2 leading up to Christmas, right? That's the plan. And then we can have a lovely Christmas episode.
And jingle all the way.
And jingle all of the way. But until then, you can listen to all of our previous episodes. You can go to fiercefeedback.fun.
Yeah.
You can vote on whether you want Final Fantasy VIII or Viewtiful Joe to win by going to Fierce Feedback on Twitter.
Yep.
And you can email us your anything, really. Just go to fiercefeedback@gmail.com, pop it in, send us your little message, review us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be very, very happy. And thank you all for listening so far. And we're looking forward to more Fierce Feedback. I've not guessed your false feedback.
Oh, yeah. What
did you forget to do it?
No, I didn't. I did it this time.
Oh, no. Dramatic pause. I think it is... Oh, I know what your false feedback is. It's that you knew everything about the game.
The false feedback was Golden Saucer, but then I realised when I said it that you wouldn't have known if it was in Final Fantasy VIII or not. It's from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, well, that is a subtle one because, I'd have no idea. You could have told me it was a real-life saucer that the developers used to make tea, but I still wouldn't have got it.
That'd be great.
Anyway, thank you, Liz.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.